Hello, hello, hello. After the live stream last night, I had the unalloyed joy of watching Piers Morgan's interview with Roger Waters. I went on social media and Roger Waters' name was trending on X, and I thought, oh no, what's he gone and done this time? And yeah, again, I'd like to include bits of Piers Morgan's interview, but the copyright gremlins might strike, so I'm just going to talk about it instead. As we know already, and there will be many who hit the comments and goes, no, he's not an anti-Semite, he's just a very naughty boy. No, Roger Waters is a massive anti-Semite, because the beauty about Piers Morgan's interview is it was chef's kiss, that good. He gave him enough rope and Roger did the deed. Wow, there's a lot to take away. It's about an hour and 10 minutes, the interview, and it starts off very well about how educated Roger Waters is, on certain topics, because his mum told him to read again, and then do the right thing. And again, Piers Morgan sets him up for this. So later on, he said, "Have you read?" And you go, "No." "Have you read?" And you go, "No." "What about this?" "Nope." Because Roger Waters, like a lot of people these days who share a similar ideology, they only read the things that they want to believe rather than everything that's available, because they'll just dismiss that as propaganda. It's propaganda. It's propaganda. And yeah, it's an incredible piece of interviewing, and it doesn't make Mr. Waters look very good or very sane. Again, it was just crazy. It is so insane, and you do worry that he makes Joe Biden seem cogent in some points. Again, when questioned about what happened on October the 7th, again, for those who don't know, there was the terrorist group Hamas invaded Israel and slaughtered many at the Nova Music Festival. Again, in the past, Waters has come out and said this is a false flag. This was set up by Israel itself. These things didn't happen, and he doubled down on that in the interview, saying that filthy Israel, almost edging towards the whole false flag business. And then he stops himself, and it's a beautiful clip. You can see it's about 40 seconds where Waters stops himself, starts talking to himself. He talks to little Roger. I thought there was a guy next to him. He goes, "Oh, Roger, oh, you better control yourself, oh," and he's he's barking woof woof. He's barking woof woof. And like I said, it was the most amazing piece of interviewing. Just, you got to go and see it. Again, for many of us who've called Waters out for his anti-Semitism, it was all to see. And he expressed very forthrightly what he wants to see happen is Israel. There's no two-party solution for him. He wants, and he said quite clearly, he wants all the Jews to go back to Eastern Europe. Go back to where you came from. I wonder what kind of people say that sort of things. Racists usually, isn't it? Isn't it the racists that say that? And there's a great line where he goes, I'll tell you who knows whether Roger Waters is an anti-Semite or not. I'll tell you, Roger Waters knows. He'll tell you." It's like, I'm beginning to think that, when he does all these gigs, these tours and that, I'm beginning to think he has two dressing rooms. He has one for Roger Waters and another for his mate Roger Waters. He goes, "I'm not a capitalist. Have you seen those shows he puts on? Have you seen?" And then Piers Morgan says later on, he says, "But you're worth about 300 million, aren't you?" He says, "It's none of your business." I was upset, I was crying. I was in Barbados. Now I could have understood it if he was in Skegness, But come on, Barbados with his mate Eric Clapton. And again, this is what happens when people get very, very old and they've got no one beside them to say, "Not now, dear. Why don't you do the crossword?" He hasn't got anyone to do that. Now, I remember, again, it's when people get older, they get a little bit obsessive. For the missus's grandmother, secateurs. She swore they went missing. She swore the neighbour had them. Could have caused a war over it. She also claimed that some photographs went missing, but they were later found when she died, and we went through the belongings. They were there, and it's like, people of a certain age get obsessive and they get a little bit cranky, and you see this here. And it was a sight to behold. And again, he said, the reason I'm upset about all this is because this is the first time in my lifetime I've been witness to a genocide. And you go, Roger, there have been many genocides, from Cambodia to the Tutsis in Africa to the Uyghur Muslims. Across the world, there have been examples of genocide. In your lifetime, you're 80 years old. There have been many. I mean, crikey, in your lifetime, there was that big genocide that happened in World War II, which you were witness to, even though you were a baby. But again, we don't recognise those because no Jews in it. You just go, oh. It is a marvellous, marvellous interview. And again, I'm not a big fan of Piers Morgan, but Piers Morgan is an old-fashioned journalist. He does his work. He does do his research, and he does get people on, and he lets them, like I say, do the business themselves. And you see this here. And it's very evident why earlier in this year, Waters was dropped from BMG, which is his record label. They gave him the elbow, probably because of the things he says. But I imagine the sales of his Dark Side of the Moon Redux album probably didn't set the charts alight. If there was a bargain, if there were Woolworths or Our Price or Tower Records, or insert your favourite record store here, and there was a manager's bargain bin like we used to get. Do you remember the bargain bin? I imagined not only would it be filled with Stephen Wilson albums, but Roger Waters' Dark Side of the Moon Redux. You'd find plenty of that in there. But yeah, it's a delightful, disturbing interview. And this also is why the Floyd can't sell their catalogue. They've been hawking it around places, trying to sell it for about 400 million dollars. I'm not, it could be either. I've been trying to hawk it around, trying to get rid of it. It's been about 2 or 3 years now. And I think, again, Waters' attitude is incredibly, incredibly toxic. He denied the crimes that have happened. He denied that he thought about the baby that's been kidnapped has been given back. It hasn't. He is totally ill-educated on the subject. This is somebody who's very much in his own, chamber of echoes. And he's here again. This is somebody who's I think he might even be an American citizen. He certainly lives in America. He's here to promote far left candidates. He's going on about how they're going to unseat Keir Starmer. Good luck with that, son. Good luck in the election, which is tomorrow. This is a highly deluded and disturbed individual who should probably be sectioned for his own safety. But no, it's a beautiful interview. Watch it. It's pure car crash. Of course, there will be people who say, "Oh, he's wonderful, stunning and brave. He's speaking the truth." He's not. Again, Piers Morgan even pulled him up for calling out Bono, who said, when they was doing the U2 Sphere concerts, it was actually on the day or the day after the October the 7th massacre. He said something for the kids who were at the Nova Music Festival. He had a moment and said, this is terrible. And Waters called him a little shit, and publicly, all. He wouldn't discuss it. He wouldn't discuss it with Piers because I'll tell you, certain subjects, certain topics. Walters' shrivelled little cock disappeared right inside him with the nerves when he brought up Polly Sampson's tweet and Dave Gilmour's response. He went, "That's a private matter," and Morgan said, "No, Gilmour and Sampson tweeted it publicly or posted it publicly. It's not a tweet anymore. It's called X." And he went, "I'm not talking about it." And you can't imagine what it must be like to deal with somebody like that. Again, it's a great shame, but let it be a lesson. If you get all the money in the world, that's how you end up. If you surround yourself with yes men, that's how you end up. Because I imagine everyone around him goes, "Yes, Roger. Yes, Roger. Just keep paying my salary, Roger." Do watch it. I wish I could include clips because it's mind-boggling, it's baffling, and he just doubled down on his anti-Semitism and some of the disturbing things he says. And there'll be people who go, "You're a Zionist, you're this, you're that." I don't have a skill. I'm an atheist. I see it as a religious war. Islam hates Judaism. Judaism just wants a right to exist after the Holocaust. What Israel's doing to Palestine is awful, and same, it goes both ways. I call for peace throughout the world because I'm an old hippie and I want everyone to live a good life, a good happy life. And unfortunately it's a problem that will never be solved, especially if, like Roger Waters, you want everyone to go back from where they came from. Maybe your mate Putin will take him in. God, he got him with Putin as well. Bloody hell, in the Ukraine war. He talked himself in circles. It was beautiful. He says, well, it's illegal to invade. It's a war crime to invade a sovereign nation. And so Morgan says to him, "So Putin's a war criminal then?" He went, "No." Just watch it. It's just absolute derangement. There's no logic to any of it. No logic. It is what happens when you get totally drawn in by your own ideology and you believe everything is true that you believe, and it's very, very dangerous. And you should do your research. Again, he says, "Oh, there's no evidence, there's this, that and the other." The Israeli government have 40 days worth of footage that they got from Hamas, the Hamas soldiers, because all of them were body cams. Everything was documented. They've been showing select people some of the footage, obviously not unedited because it's awful. But I'm of one of those minds that I think they should just release the unedited footage. Just release it. Just release it out there. And it reminds me, I think it was Alfred Hitchcock, when they went into, I don't know if it was Auschwitz, it was one of the concentration camps, and they wanted him to document it. And he said, what you've got to do is you've got to put a camera on a dolly and or on the back of a truck and have as much film as you can. And from the outskirts all the way in, all the way around, document it in one take. And I said, why is that? And he said, because in the future, someone will say it will be fake. They won't believe what horrors have happened, and so you need to do it in one unedited shot just to prove it's real. And that was Alfred Hitchcock who said that back in those days. And here we are now. Here we are now with the ability to create everything artificially and fake news and fake everything. And let's all be friendly. Let's all just call for peace. Let's all call for peace. Let's do that. And do go and watch Roger Waters lose his fucking mind at the Piers Morgan interview. He's, like I said, if you're a fan, it's very hard to be a fan when you see that man unravelling, and he's quite out there. Anyway, thank you for watching. I've gone on about Roger Waters far too often, but I had to say something because it's quite bizarre. Anyway, cheers. Ta-ta.